So most of the problems with sidecars, obviously that's tracking true, yeah?
Yeah.
It's getting that wheel where it's got to go.
Yeah.
So these, in effect, you can't adjust that. It only goes in one position. And then all you have to do is set the bike, say that's level, you set your bike 2 degrees that way.
Yeah.
So which you do on that front top bar. So it just makes life a bit easier. Okay, right, now we've got to get that one off.
So what's the purpose of taking the sidecar off?
Just easier to work on, because we've got to replace the carburettor, got to replace the rear sprocket, got to replace all the clutch housing because all the gaskets have gone on it. You've got to get that tank off, blah blah blah. Just a lot easier to manoeuvre the bike and, you know, do what you want to do with it.
Yeah.
Also, I want to wash this side of the frame down properly when it's all apart, you know. Okay, right, first thing to do is get the tanks off and any of the rubbish up here that we don't want, because he wants the spot lamps off for the time being, until he's made his mind up what he wants, you know.
Yeah.
We're not using this brake lever, we've got another one. Get rid of the throttle cable because we're not using that.
So is this bike mechanically sound?
Well, we do the wheel bearings were shot. Sounds alright when you kick it all over. I haven't had it running, but Alex said it was okay when it was running.
That's something he's going to look at second phase, isn't it?
Possibly, yeah. He wants me to take the cylinder heads off and have a look at the bores and see what they're like.
Yeah.
You know, he just wants to use it for the summer and then bring it back for a complete... I think it'd be a really nice job to do. Very interesting. Like your Harley purist does. Made in Japan written on it. Like when we do it properly, the handlebars should be black, but the twist grips are chrome. That should be black, but that's chrome. It's all little bits and pieces that just make it look right as such, you know. Springs should be parkerised, I believe.
Proper for what though?
As factory finish.
Okay.
When it came out in 1942.
Civilian mode.
Civilian, yeah. Yeah, civilian.
So they were still doing civilian in 42?
Yes.
When did they stop doing civilian?
42.
So when you say less is more, how far less is more?
They didn't have mirrors like that. They did have mirrors back in the day, but not like this. They're a clamp that goes around the bar that way and the rod goes through that way. Apart from your front brake lever on there, that's basically, and your ride control going in there, that's all you would have had.
Really?
Yeah. Front brake originally is that side. Clearly been leaking. Because it's not like a WLA, got a separate oil tank. That's your oil tank back here, instead of having oil in one of the tanks.
Okay, yeah.
So the two petrol tanks joined by a link tube and a breather one at the top.
So that's two petrol tanks,
two petrol tanks, yeah. And you have a breather or a link that goes between there and there, a rubber pipe. And that one I've just taken off of there, comes across underneath and fits onto how you hold the fuel tap in.
So do you have to fill the two tanks separately?
No.
Yes,
it will transfer over by this link pipe on the bottom. If you just put petrol in that one,
yeah,
it will flow into that one.
Obviously, because it's got two petrol attached.
Yeah, so you can fill up either side. I'm not 100% sure, unless this fuel tap works in a different way than just reserve. It might be swapping from one tank to the other. I haven't done enough big twins to know really. Also, I noticed when we took the sidecar off, that's what holds that cross tube we took off, look. Yeah? It's all loose. So it kind of would have been wibbling and wobbling around everywhere anyway.
So why do they call them big twins? Is it for the twin tanks?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just the bigger CC, you know. Because this is a 1200 as opposed to a 750.
Yeah.
I believe that's why.
So the WLAs and WOCs traditionally 750s?
They're all 750, yeah. Spring should be inside, I believe. Yeah, all the rubber's gone as usual. Nice. Might need a bit of a rebuild, that. What you can do, because that only threads down so far and the seat goes in the bottom, stick that in the lathe and just literally machine about 1/10 thou off the bottom of that, and then you can put your valve grinding paste on there and just seat that back in, because you've taken just enough off for it to seat properly.
That's all it takes.
Yeah, because it's only brass, there's a little brass insert in the bottom of that, so it's soft as shit anyway. So you just machine a little bit off, like I say, that's because that thread, sometimes they're long enough without the thread bottoming out, but you just put a little bit of paste on there and grinding back in there. And these tanks we know aren't correct for 42. These are 47 up tanks. Alex would be glad to see that throttle cable gone. He hates that throttle cable. Right, now we've got 2 bolts in here that, so you've got to get those off, because you can't get in there to get the seat tee off until you've got those off. Throw him up there out of the way.
That's more like it.
Right. Animals. Probably done it up really tight to try and stop it rattling about, you know. Which you'll never do if the bush is gone.
No.
Kind of banging your head on a brick wall with that one. It's one of the things people never do on them, is undo it all, grease that joint.
Oh.
Which is in one of your main...
There's a grease nipple right there.
Yeah. Spacer washers and everything in that one, look. Which will do jack shit. Right, let's get the carburetor off out of the way. That was tight, wasn't it? Little flat screwdriver.
Did you want a tool belt?
No, I hate tool belts.
Tim the Tool Man Taylor.
Yeah, that was quite a funny programme.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah. He apparently does do all of that shit.
Does he?
Yeah. And all the cars in it were his and all that sort of stuff.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Right, let's get rid of all the electrics because they're all coming out.
So what's the favourite, your most favourite bike you've worked on?
I used to like working on the old 2-strokes, but I was more into them then. They're a lot more fiddly, you know. But I was sort of brought up with them with Dad, so you kind of get used to doing them. I think probably that WLA that we restored for the Dutch guy, was he Dutch? That, because he wanted it right. I like getting them, you know, bang on, like nuts. I know it sounds stupid and anal, but all the right nuts and bolts and all of that sort of stuff, you know. Yeah, I quite enjoy doing that. I quite enjoy researching it, you know.
So out of all the bikes you've done, you still go back to WLA? But it's more, it's less to do with the bike and more to do with getting
it's more to do with how it's built. Yeah.
I mean, the amount of times you take these to pieces and wrong size bolt, wrong size.
It's just nice to put one together, everything correct, you know. We've got a new coil going on, the original coil. Get rid of all of this that's wrong. So let's get that coil out of the way, because it really shouldn't be held on with Jubilee slips.
So that wasn't the way they did it back then?
No, not the way. Not the way forwards, as they say. I was watching some outtakes of Hello Hello the other day.
Oh my
Fucking
god.
brilliant. When they change Helga's to the other bird. Flick says, show me your instruments. She just goes like that. So you get your coils, new coiler, with these.
Yeah.
But the actual correct ones are, they're like a lacquered cotton with just ring eyelets like that. They're the proper exact replicas. Again, it'll be nice to do it all bang on.
Yeah, it's going to be another favourite project, isn't it, really? Cause
yeah, I think so, yeah.
so when you're rebuilding, using the right nuts and bolts and all the rest of it, does it add that much cost onto the bike? Rather than just taking out your box of bits and just bolting it?
Not massively, but obviously it all adds up. You know, you're not talking massive amounts of euros for nuts and bolts, but when you've got to replace all of them, if you want to get it to look perfect, then yeah, it adds up, you know.
How many nuts and bolts are on the bike then?
I did know on a WLA.
Oh, come on.
On a WLA I did know, but I can't remember now.
Why did you know?
Just for sitting there and working out what you need for a bike.
And you added it all up at one point?
Yeah. Been asleep since then.
You've had a fun life, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
No, it always amazes me when you strip down a bike and you put it on the shelf and you go, that's a bike there.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. Basically, put those bits and pieces together in the right order.
You got yourself a motorcycle.
And then you breathe life into it. It's like, if they could have changed one thing on the Harley to make it much, much better, what would it have been?
They always have suffered. You've got to get the distributors right. If you don't get the dizzies right, the timing, making the timing more accessible to do properly, and obviously in whenever it was 60 something, the electric start came out. Yeah, made life a lot easier because you can kick one of these things all day long. If the timing isn't right,
yeah,
it won't go.
No.
But with the electric start, they will go because it's winding over so much quicker. That's the correct bit for the wiring. So instead of having all your wires just flapping around it, that goes on there and feeds all your wires through to where they should go properly. That goes in there. Saves having all your wiring tucked around and all sorts of funny stuff, you know.
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's also, that will be exactly the correct hinge because they weren't bolted on originally, these were riveted. So it will reset that hinge that's bent. Let's see what that's up there. We'll keep these because they're original cloth. We can use them to run over for the sidecar wires, which will look better. Always keep any of that stuff.
Really?
Yeah, you can buy it by the metre length now. That's the original wax coated that the wire was protected. And if you look in the new wiring kit, see it there? I don't want to take it out because I'm dirty.
Yeah.
And that's the original stuff. And there's a big one that holds all the two looms together as it goes down.
So what's the matter with those?
They should be riveted. These are what they call a coach bolt with a square head on them. But obviously they're just going through a round hole, so the square doesn't hold anything. So as you try and undo it, because of the dirt on the underneath, it's just turning the whole thing. Can you pass me that ratchet, mate? Sorry. That cack-handed fucker.
Do you want me to hold something? Do you want me to hold this?
That's right.
You sure?
Yep.
Stop complaining then. You suffer from repetitive strain injury at all?
No.
You're lucky, aren't you?
Right.
And it's just coming for an oil change, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. Crap. I don't think there's anything else at the moment to come off of that. So we might as well pull a cylinder head and have a look, haven't we? Head steady off. Don't smell too burnt. Well, cylinder head should be tight, probably not that tight, but
Question is, was that bit of piping bent before? Or after?
no. Alright, see what we got. See how much bigger everything is?
Yeah.
That's just 750 piston down there. Look.
Yeah.
Yeah, the valves are much bigger.
Oh.
Not bad. Yeah. Stamp there, CC.
What are you looking for? Just movement?
Yeah, movement, what you can see inside. There's hardly any lip there, that's just carbon build up, so it hasn't done any miles at all. Yeah, that's done nothing. You can still see the cross hatching in there. We'll give it a wind down all the way down the bottom and have a look in the bore. That exhaust valve guide, that's pretty good. A little bit of scoring front to back, but nothing major at all. If you want to go to the nth degree, that scoring shouldn't be there, but realistically on one of these probably doesn't go over 3,000, 4,000 revs, so it's never going to kill itself as such. Still got oil in the crankcase, you can hear that. Yep, valve guide's good. Yeah, it's all good, mate. Certainly nothing I'd panic about on one of these, you know. Formula 1 engine, yes, but one of these. Don't panic, Mr. Mannering.